Uh, Welcome back to the pod. I'm your host Jeremy, and hope all you intuitives are doing well. That's what I like to call you guys sometimes. Hope you don't mind. Welcome to the squad. It's a it's a small community, but we make it happen. Um, yeah, I had a pretty nice weekend. I went got a little snowboarding in with some friends. It was a good time. Um, we somehow packed 5 people in one small Subaru. That was a little throwback to my childhood, honestly, when me and the family used to pack up into the car and just road trip. Yeah, being in Denver is pretty nice because you can literally have some of the world's best mountains to snowboard on, and it's like it took us 2 hours to get there. Like it's just crazy. I really I'd like to say I take it for granted, and I do in the fact that I don't really think about it, but I definitely go on very frequently. So in that regard, I'm definitely taking advantage of it for sure. Um, but yeah, um, I didn't change the album, as you guys can tell from last week. Um, it kind of serves as a reminder to me now that I'm seeing it to, if I haven't actually listened to the album that I put up there, or like swap to a different one. Like I've already listened to this one since last week. I just haven't like chosen another one because I've been busy and I just haven't had time to listen to the record. But um, yeah, it's like a reminder to me that yeah, I should probably listen to another record at some point. I like to listen when I'm folding my laundry. Actually, it's a good like takes like 30 minutes and you can get through like half an album, which is pretty solid. But for this week, since I already gave this album the week, we'll say song of the week is actually the title of the episode. Um, Moments slash tides. Shout out my boy, Goth Babe. This actually was total coincidence. I have like a list of like 20 different ideas for episodes, and I was kind of paging through them, and I thought this one stuck out to me tonight, so I decided to sit down and record it. I actually kind of stumbled upon this idea from the photographer I follow on my Instagram. So if you're following Flying Intuition, I forget what the guy's name is, but I only follow one photographer, and he's actually a dope guy. I think he's sponsored by like Canon, I'm pretty sure. But he always makes these really cool videos that are more, I'd say like kind of what I do, like more philosophical and whatnot. And um, one thing one of the videos that he recently came out with was talking about how there's always beauty around you, but we don't always see it. And I really think the oldest people on this planet understand that so well and honestly appreciate it the most. Um, Not to say that other people don't, but I find that the it's like the older the person is, the more that they would agree with that statement. And this whole idea of like staying in the moment, I think is always, everyone sort of tosses it around, throws it around, and I think it's good, but it's hard to do that, right? I'm 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 a person that this is one thing that I always tell people, like if people are like, what's like a natural talent you possess? A natural talent I possess that I've always had good luck with, and I think I always will, is the ability to like focus whenever I want. Like I can lock in, like on this episode now. I'm doing this episode, I'm not thinking about anything else, right? Earlier today I was at the library thinking about my research project and I was doing nothing else. Like I wasn't thinking about this, I wasn't thinking about that. Sometimes my mind drifts, but I think that's good because it's your mind kind of saying like, okay, I just need a little brain break and then I'll come back. So sometimes I'll let it drift for a few minutes, but in general, like if you tell me to do something for 2 hours, I'll lock in and I can do it quality effort for 2 hours without a break. Like, which I don't think a lot of people can relate to that. But that's a natural skill I possess. But why I bring this up is because the detriment of that is that you don't you aren't able to really see the surroundings around you to the fullest potential, if that makes sense. Because you're so locked in on whatever else you're doing that you forget to kind of stop and look around every once in a while. I'll just say this last month has been a great example. Like it's already February. Like someone explained to me where January went, because I'm not really like it's not really checking out in my mind. Like I'll just stop and say it. I think this is January was the fastest month of my life. Like I do not know where that time went. I I think partially because I was busy, because I was hanging out with people that I really like, um, and I was having a lot of fun while doing it. Like I think all those things really contribute, but it's like it's a little scary sometimes when I'm like I really flipped. I don't even think I didn't even flip my calendar over there yet because I think I'm still a little bit like wow, like I feel like I lived January in a day, like genuinely. I don't know what I did. And this is the whole concept of what I'm trying to get at is that the moment is now. What you what you what you feel with what you observe and what you feel with all your senses, right? Every all the noises, all the pieces of dust on my floor, all the folds on my um on my pillowcases. You know, these little details that um you don't really stop and think about until they're there. But I think I really like, and this is why I've taken to photography a lot, I think, because all those details tell a story, right? And that is one natural skill that I think all humans are really talented about. Like all humans have this capacity to just tell a really good story, right? Whether that be by word of mouth, which is what everyone always thinks of immediately, but if you haven't checked out Fall yet on my YouTube channel, definitely check it out because what I'm getting at here is like telling a story in different ways, whether that's through a picture where there's dust on the floor and it's like, okay, that dust can symbolize a lot of things, right? Like, it symbolizes that the person was too busy to clean it up and they were, you start to wonder like, what was that person doing? Were they lazy? They just didn't want to clean it up, or were they hiking every weekend with friends and snowboarding and doing all this crazy stuff that they didn't simply have time to clean up the dust because they were doing other stuff. It's like stuff like this. Or in terms of Fall, like telling a story without narration, because in reality, the beauty of art is like you're able to express the moment without words. And I think in a lot of ways that can be more powerful than with words, because words cap out after a while, is what I'm starting to realize as I go on. This is certain, because what you want to feel in life is a feeling, right? It's like yeah, you can try to describe a person or this and that. And I always told people I'm really bad at describing people, right? I can describe their physical features really well, but like are they are they personable or charismatic or positive, negative. Like I don't even know all these adjectives that people are throwing around because I don't really like. I always tell people like people always ask me, "Oh, how are they like?" And I'm just like, I don't know. I just go by the vibe, right? Like how do I feel when I'm around them? Like I think warm. I really like using that word. Like when I feel warm around someone, that's like the best feeling ever. You know, you just feel like relaxed, cared for, and just like comfortable being yourself, you know? Like it's a very rare thing to find in a person. But anyways, kind of getting back to what I was talking about, there's this idea of the moment, right? That it, it's it's honestly impossible to capture, right? Because every every moment is past. The one I just was referencing is now gone, right? And um I think recordings like this and photos and videos can all help, but ultimately it's the most powerful moments are the ones that you look back on and you can remember exactly like how you felt like during that moment. Those are the because those are ultimately the memories you have, right? It's not just, oh, I remember when we did this and we did that. It's like, no, you remember that because you remember how it felt, you know, because you felt like some of these, you know, moments where me and my buddy Adam went out to Yellowstone. Like, I remember certain details of that trip because I felt a certain way about them, you know, like I just yeah. I remember yeah, one night we went out and I brought the tent because I wanted to camp in Yellowstone because I wanted to say I did it, right? And I remember we pitched the tent and it was super windy that night and I still got in it because even though it was cold, I was like, I want to experience this, right? We were camping in Yellowstone National Park and it was so cold, but I'll never forget like the way the tent like rustled as the wind was kind of catching it and how I felt just so relaxed and so away from everything else around me, you know? I think that that was awesome, you know? And ultimately, as I was kind of touching on this idea of tides, because I think tides really play into this a lot. That I think it's kind of a cool analogy because it's like a surfer, right? Like the surfer has caught the moment of him riding the wave, and he's riding it, and you know it only lasts so long. And I actually surfed over this past spring break, like last March, so almost a year ago now, and I tried and um it's hard, right? Because you have to time it because the wave peaks at a certain time, and if you go too early, you're just gonna miss it. If you go too late, you're gonna you're gonna miss it as well. So it's like this perfect timing thing, and if you hit it just right, you can catch the wave, right? And you're riding out this moment. But ultimately, as waves do, especially these big ones, they crash, right? And they cave in on themselves, and ultimately the moment is gone, right? But you decided how you wanted to live that moment, right? In the case of a surfer, they rode it out, right? They rode out the moment until the tide crashed, and they realized that when the tide has crashed, it's time to chase another wave, right? That the moment's over, but we live for the future, and we live for those future moments because ultimately, you know, they'll come, good or bad, and that's it's kind of what life is all about, right? Like riding those moments out, and um, I think, yeah, definitely one of my biggest weaknesses is like I get so focused on what I gotta do and not necessarily stressed. I think just like lost in the craft and I think there's positives and negatives to that, right? Like right now I'm so locked in, like I'm not focusing on everything around me and stuff. And I think there's a time and a place for that, but I also think I lack the time and the place that I think there should be for when, you know, I used to this past fall I used to go on like weekly Sunday walks just by myself. I'd bring my like journal and I'd just go to Wash Park and um just like walk around the park with my journal in my hand and I'd always like sit down at this one bench and I just like sit down and just like think about stuff that like has been on my mind the entire week. And I think just slowing down and allowing myself to, just look at, there was like some stones under me, like some brick, and I'd always like look at, the these bricks had like, the bricks that like similar to like bricks in Hollywood or whatever, they would write all the names for the people that donated money and stuff. It's like that, and like those are so fun to me because especially if you want to slow down, like you can just spend 10 minutes on this bench just looking at all the different names. And I don't know, at least what my mind always goes to is like, I wonder what all these people are doing right now. Like where are they? Are they still in Denver? Are they, I bet some of them are dead, like do they have a good life? Do they still like Wash Park? Do they, when's the last time they've been here? Like before you know it, I'm just like I'm beginning to process my own sort of mental burdens throughout the week. And I'm just so focused on these bricks and nothing else. And then I look up and I'm just, you're just like immersed in nature and you're just sort of looking around and you're like, I don't know, everything just becomes like transparent, I guess, like it's not as complex of a life as you once thought, 20 minutes prior. And I think that's one thing I gotta appreciate more is just living in the moment, and especially the bad ones, because um recognizing that both the good and the bad moments will pass, right? I think back in the day I used to chase this, I'd put a lot of pressure on myself to like sort of um chase when I felt the best and try to I'd always, me being the scientist, like reflect back on times that I felt really good. And I think this is good, but I almost did it to a detriment to myself where I'd always do it and be like, okay, what's the pattern there? And how do I emulate that so I can get that every day and feel that way every second of my life? And um, it wasn't until probably 6 months ago when a friend told me, like, I just want to feel that way every day. Like, but it's so hard. Like, I can't get there. And she's just like, well, like, to have those days, you also have to have the bad ones, right? It's like to have a sunny day, you have to have the rainy days, right? And it's like there's just something about that that just I don't know. It just some things just speak to you in a certain way. I don't know if I've talked to you guys about this on the pod before, but um I think I sort of had this knack for photography that I never really knew I had. Um, Video, I sometimes get it with, but pictures especially, which you guys haven't really seen any of the ones I've taken, but um, sometimes certain, and not like nature landscapes either. Like just like normal everyday objects. Sometimes like they're like framed in a way that like literally speaks to me. And it's gonna sound so hippie when I say this, but I'm just gonna say it because there's no other way for me to describe this. But like these frames that I get that like will like speak to me, they like give off this sort of like energy. And like I look around now and I don't really see any of that, but like it's so apparent where it's funny. I was just watching Severance, the show on Apple, and basically it's about these people. I'm not really gonna get into it too much, but it's about these. Their job is to just look at numbers on a screen, and then eventually these numbers on a screen like this girl like first got her job. I just started the show for people that have watched it, but I'm at the part where this girl like just got the job, and she's like, "What do you mean?" Like, because they're always like, you'll know because the numbers will make you scared. When you see a certain pattern of numbers, they'll make you scared. And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And everyone's just like, "You'll know when you know, right?" And then like an episode later, she's like, "Guys," and she was like scared. She's like, and they're like trying to like walk her through it because she was really scared. But she found this group of numbers that were like scary, right? And it's the same way with photography. I don't really I have sometimes gotten shots that are like eerie, and that'll give me an energy too. It doesn't matter. It's just like you feel something, right? Usually I try to go for shots that like feel like I feel good inside, right? But if it's like an overcast day, sometimes that'll shift towards this like sort of eerie, like sometimes I like to emulate sort of like a lonely feeling, I guess. I don't know. It again, like words just don't do it justice. It's so hard to describe, but like I think part of me is really like that I've picked up photography because like I said, like when I lock in on something, I lock in. So I lock in on photography, but in doing so with photography, you're forcing yourself to lock in on the moment, right? And to lock in on certain scenes and things that are happening around you. So in a way, like it's not my primary goal in that case to like be in the moment, but like as a result, I am in the moment, right? Through like a hobby. I honestly feel like that might be the best way to experience a moment. Like, um, because I had another example. Oh yeah, when I go on those walks on Sundays in the park, like my goal is to take a walk, right? But as a result, I sort of drift into the moment of the present, right? And there, I don't know. There's just something so, I don't know, just artistically powerful about sort of being in the moment and just like locking in. Um, and I think with that, I'll call the episode, and I hope you guys can, whether it's through a hobby or just you know setting a timer for 10 minutes and just sort of like looking around your room, looking at all the little details, all the threads on your like on your comforter, like the snacks in your drawer, all the ripples that form on the bag when you like open a bag of chips, like all these little things that a kid would be so amused by, but just because you've seen them so much, you don't even think twice about it. Like stop and think about those things sometimes, because it actually does, like in a very non-intuitive way, give you a lot of joy. Um, so thank you for listening. Got my shoes of the day, the drip. Shout out Scott Weber for putting me on. The LL Bean Mocs, bro. The loafers. Dude, best like $100 I've ever spent in my life. I've had these for like 4 years now, and I mean, there's some like smudges on them, but like they're still so comfy. I never walk barefoot around my house. I like Sundays when I go into work, like I'll just wear the Mocs because no one's there, and it's just like I'm just gonna chill and lounge. So really good purchase. February 7th. Oh my God, guys. My son turns 3. My son. Oh man. Son is in fine intuition. Relax, relax. Um, but honestly, when I mean this, I really do mean it. Like it's more exciting than my birthday. It truly is. And it's on a Friday. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I actually don't have plans on Friday, so we'll see where the journey takes us. But like, I'm just pumped. I think I'm definitely gonna get some balloons, like another photo shoot, have someone flick me up because it's just been a long time coming, man. So thank you for tuning into this one, and this is Flying Intuition, and I'm your host Jeremy, and we'll catch you in the next one.